Let's talk about Viacom. Take a look at the stock this morning. I've got it down about 12% right now. This after the company. Let's, I guess, start with the reported quarter because that's where the story is.
Oh, my God.
13%. Total revenues, 7.092. That was a miss in terms of at least the analysts who follow the company consensus. Again, this is the fourth quarter numbers for 19. Adjusted operating income came in below. Operating income margin came in below. EPS came in well below. And free cash flow did. But all right, let's move on. Let's move on to the guidance because that's where a lot of investors are looking. And by the way, it is interesting to note, as I talk about the guidance, how many value investors are in this stock. I'll come back to that in a minute. $1.2 billion in adjusted free cash flow for 2019. By the way, that did, exclude a number of restructuring things and things having to do with the merger with CBS. 1.8 to $2 billion in free cash flow guidance is below what a lot of analysts were looking for. UBS, for example, at $2.5 billion. Other analysts up and around that. It depends, certainly, as you watch the stock just cratering right now. That does include the $2 billion. Does include $500 million in additional costs for direct-to-consumer that they are starting to build out. Remember, they told us about their strategy in terms of CBS All Access and Pluto, a number of other things they're going to be doing. And so that's an additional cost. Now, you also do have content spend is going to flatten in 2020 in this year. They did have some rate resets last year as well, but that additional cost is in there. So they are seeing and talking about saying they have absolute line of sight to significant increase in free cash flow in 2021. They're talking about getting to as high as $2.5 billion in that year. So that is a significant percentage increase in free cash flow. That's where a lot of the value investors are focused right now, although they are having a horrible day. And when I talk about them, look at the shareholder list. Once you get past the index funds, you're talking about Baupost. You're talking about Glenview. Capital Management, Capri. This has become a value
Kramer Charitable Trust
today, Jim.
Well, I believed in a stock that sells at 5 times earnings, that 2 plus 2 would equal 5, CBS versus 5. I mean, all of the mumbo jumbo that, and I believed in value. And
well, listen, we all know that the available audience, the available number of homes is going down, right? We talk about cord cutting all the time here. We look at the numbers. That is a simple fact that all the businesses in terms of the cable ecosystem are dealing with, including our own. So that's part of it. By the way, upfront strong. A number of things on the advertising front seem to be strong for the company as well. And they are talking about sort of, in terms of trying to positive advertising up 2%. They obviously had
that's a full year. It wasn't the fourth quarter was bad for advertising.
And then you get to football in the NFL, which is going to be so vitally important for this company in terms of keeping it. Now, the contract's not up till 2022, but if you talk to people at ViacomCBS, if you talk to people at Fox, they want to get this over with as quickly as possible, erase any doubts about their ability to actually have the NFL as a key centerpiece of their continued strategy. And you can imagine how important it is. It becomes even more important. What they're going to have to pay for that remains a concern of some investors. But, man, the value investors are in there, Jim. You have talked about that for some time, how cheap it is.
I did that. I was
But
wrong.
the free cash flow guidance is scaring people right now.
I know.
As much as they say that they are going to be able to see a line of sight to a significant increase in that free cash flow from 2020 until 2021.
The obvious question is, can Shari Redstone really be satisfied with this chaos, this mockery of it?
I'll tell you something interesting, which is that investors are going to have an opportunity to ask her that very question because Ms. Redstone and Mr. Bakish are receiving a bunch of investors today, is my understanding, coming over to headquarters, and they're going to be sitting down with them. So they are meeting with investors today.
This is serious
Shari
business.
Redstone and Bob Bakish together.
This is serious
by a number of people. So they will face a potentially hostile audience at ViacomCBS. I mean, the market cap on this thing now is moving to a level that it's bite-sized. It's truly bite-sized.
They're not an oil company.
No. They rank okay in ESG, so they got that going for them.
Very high in their statements. David, this is all about a style of investing that is really kind of kaput right now. My Chapel Trust owns 29 stocks that are a growth. I said, why not take one very low valued stock and bet that valuation is incorrect? Okay. And it turned out not only was the valuation correct, but 2 plus 2 equaled 3. How's that possible?
By the way, they
It's
are
22
delivering
billion.
on their synergy. In fact, they did increase their overall. Remember, they got so much criticism. In fact, the stock started to suffer immediately after the announcement of the deal, in part because the synergy number came in far below what people had anticipated. It was $500 million. You do typically want to underpromise and overdeliver, and they are saying that here as well. They're now saying $750 million. Is the number that they'll have. $250 million of that will be realized in terms of the synergies this year.
They told us over and over again that there would be no problem making numbers that they talked about. And they can say, we never put out numbers. And this is just, you're up against compares that you dreamed of from Wall Street. But look at the valuation of this thing. Look at what it's worth as an entity.
Right.
I think Shari Rhodestone has to say, you know what, I'm mad as hell and I can't take it anymore, which actually, of course, was about TV.